Prince Harry is in trouble yet again, not just because of what he said in Spare regarding his family, but now what he said regarding himself. Yes, his history and past, particularly relating to the use of specific controlled substances, may get him in huge trouble and could end up with having his visa revoked for the United States and having him deported back to jolly old England. As always, I am Andrew Esquire, and today's video is going to be a video that I'm going to actually have go out on both of my channels, Go East Gentleman and on Legal Mindset, because it kind of is a confluence of both a legal issue, i.e. immigration law, and also international travel. So I want to talk a little bit about both topics today in a merger of my channels, which sometimes happens from time to time when things happen to hit on both gears. So let's just get into it today. As always, Legal Mindset is about being your own judge, and Go East is helping gentlemen who are looking to move out of the West. So listen, let's talk about this in the US context first, and a little bit about Prince Harry in general. So obviously, folks may know that he had his book Spare, where he talks a lot about the relationship with his family. Now, that has been much maligned for being, well, perhaps a little bit fictitious, a little bit perhaps of an exaggeration, maybe hyperbolic. Some of the accusations he makes in there are certainly very extreme. And he's also facing a court case, even in England, regarding some of the things he said in that. But beyond that, he's talked, not just in the book, but in other sources and other areas, about using drugs. So he's talked about using mushrooms, he's talked about using marijuana, other controlled substances, things that are illegal in most countries. Now, there are some countries that have decriminalized or legalized some of these things, but certainly there's no country where all of the things that he's admitted to experimenting with are legal. And just to go over that, this past drug use has been fairly well documented. There's pretty good records even going back a while on Harry taking drugs, using drugs, admitting to smoking cannabis at a time in which it wasn't legal, right? It was an illegal drug, and as well as using numerous other intoxicating substances. So that's what's at issue with his visa case. And this visa case has been brought by the conservative think tank, the Heritage Foundation, which is challenging his visa to get those legal records in order to go back and say, hey, is this being applied fairly? And to get into the US law regarding this, anyone who has used drugs or is a known addict is prohibited from entering the United States. Now, let me be very clear about this, and I want to be, very clear about this distinction. I understand legally, in the United States particularly, and in many other countries, there is a legal distinction between drug use and possession. Most times, for example, it is criminal to possess a illegal controlled substances, but substance or substances, right? So let's say you had pot and cocaine on you, right? Those are controlled substances that would probably be illegal in most countries, although pot may have been legalized, cannabis may have been legalized in certain countries, certain states, depending on where you are. That being said, if you said for example, you're an American citizen, and you said, hey, back when I was 18 years old, I smoked marijuana. You said that, right? But at the time, right now, when you're admitting that, you don't own any, you don't have any on you, right? You are in the United States, probably not going to be punished in any jurisdiction for having used it in the past. What's typically criminalized is the possession. So you're caught, you've got it in your possession, that's illegal, right? So we understand that distinction, but with immigration, understand there's much more broad latitude. There's much more broad latitude to say, hey, if you've used drugs, not just possessed them, we didn't just have to catch you with them. If you've used them in the past, we're going to exclude you. And for my Go East channel, this comment pertains out here. We're talking about the US with Harry, but just let's be very clear, ladies and gentlemen, this applies in many countries. There's many countries where if you say on the visa application, let's say Japan, Korea, a lot of East Asia particularly, if you say, I have used drugs, you will be prohibited from entering that country. So if you admit to that on your visa paperwork, you say, yep, I'm a drug user, I've smoked a hell of a lot of pot, that's going to be a problem. You're going to be excluded from those countries. So if Harry disclosed that on the way in, yeah, that might have been a problem in his visa application. And the thing about immigration, which people do not understand, is immigration has wide latitude, much more than what applies to a citizen. See, citizens are usually subject to your constitution, to your statutory law, to all those other provisions that protect citizens. But as a non-citizen, you are not entitled to any of that. You are only entitled to whatever powers the sovereign chooses to give you. That's why there's wide latitude at a border, there's wide latitude with immigration, and you have to understand a lot of immigration is highly discretionary. But the issue is with Harry, and the reason why the Heritage Foundation is suing is because other people have been excluded for drug use. There's some very famous people that have been refused to come into the United States because of their drug use. Those people include, and some of these people you may know, Diego Maradona. Now, Diego Maradona passed away, R.I.P. Diego Maradona. A very controversial World Cup title there with the hand of God. But that being said, Diego Maradona, very well known to have, drug issues, to have used drugs, to have drug substance abuse problems, excluded from the United States, right? Same with also deceased R.I.P. Amy Winehouse. So Amy Winehouse, Diego Maradona, they were excluded. These are famous people that were excluded from the United States. So the question is, why is Prince Harry allowed this discretion and others aren't? You should at least be exercising that discretion equally. And at a very minimum, this is going to put extra scrutiny on Prince Harry and his status in the United States because he is not a U.S. citizen. He is not entitled to be here. He is only here because, well, he is married to a U.S. citizen and therefore in the country. So let's be very, very clear about what's going on here with Prince Harry. So as we dig into those records, as we get those records, and I do expect we should get some information here, this is something that is going to be relevant. And look, they could decide ultimately to deport him. This is a very real possibility. Now, do I think it's the most likely thing? Probably not. But is it possible? Certainly. Because once again, when you're dealing with immigration, whether it's the United States or whether it's Japan, Korea, Thailand, Philippines, anywhere else, East or West, you're going to have a heck of a lot of discretion at the border, which is why I say for content creators particularly, but also for people with social media. Harry got in trouble because he wrote a book. Now, I know that most of you are not going to go out there and write a book on how your family is horribly racist and hates black people. However, here's where I think a lot of people will get in trouble, and this is around the world. This is a global thing. I think that both in the United States, in Asia, all over the world, immigration is going to start paying attention to social media. YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Snapchat, all that stuff. Whatever's the new thing, they're going to be paying attention to it. And if you are on social media advertising that you are doing drugs, particularly if you're doing psychedelics, controlled substances, things that most countries find illegal, yeah, that may be a problem in the future. And I think a lot of people are going to get in trouble because they are posting just openly and notoriously, oh, hey, look, I'm taking this bong rip. I'm smoking this pot. I'm taking these shrooms. I'm going doing ayahuasca, whatever else. Look, if it's legal where you're at, I have no problem with you engaging in whatever activities you want to engage in, right? So if cannabis is legal where you're at, go ahead and indulge in that. But what I'm telling you is if you are making videos of this, if you are recording it, if you're writing it down, if you're bragging about it online, that may be an issue in the future. Because while let's say it's legal to get high in Denver, if you go over to Japan, they might have an issue with that. If you're posting on social media and your name on YouTube, for example, is Cannabis Bro 102, right? They're going to look at that and say, yeah, we don't want you in here because you're a known drug user. They're allowed to do that. Immigration has that discretion. So I think people should be very careful with how they use social media and should take Prince Harry as an example over here of what not to do. Do not go writing in a book or in periodicals or giving interviews talking about how you've done these things if you don't want that to be out there for everybody to know. You may be excluded from other countries and you may even be deported. That being said, guys, I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope it's been educational on both Go East and Legal Mindset. And I will catch you guys later. Peace.